You absolutely need to know geopolitics to be able to advise a brand which direction to take. So you really need to be sure you read all the Financial Times, you know what is happening in the world, you follow the news, so you know, for instance, if it's a good time to tap into Middle East now. So you really need to know which country is doing economically better now, especially if you are in high luxury.
Hi, Oxana. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Pleasure to be here.
So good to have you here. So you've carved out quite a unique space for yourself, helping modern fashion brands scale and break into top-tier global brands. But before we get into the work, let's start with your journey. So what path brought you here?
I started as a model in 90s, came from Russia. I didn't speak a word of English. And it was a bit of a journey. It was a hell of a journey, actually. I was represented by Storm Model Agency, one of the biggest and the most prestigious in the world. We've done many catwalks, commercials, advertising campaigns, you name it. And then life took over. I had 2 children, went to university. I did my master's. First of all, I did my BA degree in English literature and history, and then I did my master's degree in history of art. So I love art, and I thought I will be having my career in art after finishing my career as a model. Within a year, I couldn't take even one internship in art world. Can you believe it? This was unbelievable. I just was hitting the brick wall every single time. I've applied hundreds of times to many roles, and it was always no. So I thought, okay, what's the closest to art? Obviously fashion. Fashion is my other passion. So I started my corporate world with Burberry. I was hired in its sales department in a head office. And after moved to Diana Furstenberg. And very quickly I realized corporate world is not what I wanted to do. But I love my job. I love being in sales. I love to see how business succeed, why it's not succeed. And for that reason, I started to taking other opportunities to work for other brands. Because what I thought is building a brand or building a business, if you work with one company for over 10, 15 years, it doesn't really gives you enough perspective to see how actually different brands build their businesses, what they do right, what they don't do right. So for that reason, I started to take jobs at the different brands. So I've worked for Pringle of Scotland. It's a really beautiful cashmere brand. And then sportswear brands, Montreal, and then Issa, another beautiful brand, and so on. So within maybe 15 years of corporate worlds, I've covered maybe 15, 20 different brands, where I worked as a full-timer, but on a short kind of contracts. I didn't feel ready to go freelancing or ready to go and to do, you know, the thing I wanted to do, because it's always scary. It's always quite challenging. So I had a really good kick in the bum by a boss of my last full-time job. She just drove me to insanity, and I've decided I have to quit. And then when I said to her I would like to quit, she asked me to stay as a consultant. And that's actually how I started my consulting journey. She was my first consulting client. And then I've emailed everyone I knew in the industry that I'm doing consultancy now. And out of maybe 50 emails, I've got my first 4 gigs. And that's how I started, and absolutely love every moment of it.
So good. And I'm sure a lot of fashion brands are very happy you took this decision as well. Let's set the stage a little bit. So you work with modern, medium-sized, let's say, luxury brands. Many of them are born in the US, far from the traditional centres of luxury, and yet you're helping them get ranged in some of Europe's most prestigious department stores to a consumer base more familiar with old heritage luxury credentials. What are the biggest challenges those brands are facing when trying to get noticed, especially without the heritage or global name recognition?
Well, fashion is one of the most saturated and competitive markets. And to stand out, to get anywhere in fashion is really challenging. So the most importantly for brands, you have to become a hot brand. You have to. There is no other way around. I mean, I've been working with small, medium, big brands, and it's the same thing. A buyer, when they come to the showroom, they want to see a hot brand. And how do you make this hot brand? It's a whole different story. It's not just a product. It's so much more than just a product.
So does that mean that the biggest challenge to get noticed for these brands is there has to be enough hype and enough heat around them?
It is all about visibility. Visibility is one thing. Secondly, you have to be able to produce good collaterals, your market collaterals. So all your digital photos, how you present the brand, everything needs to be on a level of the stores you're trying to get into. So for instance, if you're trying to get into Harrods, for instance, always look at what photography they use, what vibe they go for, and try to be in line with those kind of criteria. People quite often think, I have amazing product. It's good enough for Harrods or for Selfridges to take me. But they don't forget, you have to have the whole package. To have just a product, it's not enough. You have to build a hot brand.
For founders or brand teams listening, what do you think is the biggest misconception, actually, based on what you've just said about what it takes to get into these stores in the first place?
People think if I have a good product, this is enough. But it's absolutely not. Like I've said, you have to have the photography, you have to have the aesthetics, you have to have a point of view. When they come to the showroom, they look at all those things. You have to have a product range, because anyone at Selfridges or Harrods or any department store, once she looks at your line sheet, she will know whether you've put enough effort and whether this is professional enough, a product in front of her. All these little details come in one, which is very important.
So what you're describing is essentially the brand has to match the caliber of the retailer as a first step. There needs to be an affinity or a harmony between the two in terms of how they present themselves. And the second thing you're saying is really that essentially if you haven't got all your ducks in a row in terms of you've got the hype, you've got the heat, you've got your positioning, your aesthetics, your affiliations all set. Essentially, the retailer's trying to guarantee sell-through, right? They don't want to have to do that marketing job for you.
Absolutely. Exactly. The minimum sell-through, let's say for Harrods, for instance, is 85%. So is a one job to get into Harrods, for instance, and it's a different job to stay there. Because if you don't perform, that's it. You've been given a chance, but then they're not going to keep you if you don't sell to their standards. So like I said, Harrods, for instance, Selfridges, big department stores, the minimum sell-through they expect from you is 85%. And this is before sale. So how do you achieve such a high sell-through? But I don't want to miss out one more important thing I wanted to bring out, and this is operations. Super important. You have to be able to fulfill clients' orders on time. You cannot possibly deliver 3 months late or 2 months late, or in fact, quite often you get either penalized or they will just cancel your order. So fulfillment and operations, customer service is, I would say, maybe 70% success of your brand. I've seen so many times when brand goes into administration just because of operations and fulfillment. So it's a massive, massive, huge priority.
So be ready is what you're saying. If you're going to knock on the doors of these retailers, be ready.
Absolutely, you have to nail it. Shipping is the biggest, the most important part of all of the business. Shipping is number one priority.
Incredible, incredible. That's so fascinating. And it's probably something that people don't think about necessarily, is it?
Exactly, because people quite often think, okay, creativity, this is important. I have a product, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but if you cannot fulfill the orders, if you cannot deliver on time, if you cannot do all these little things, or if your, let's say, product even was delivered on time, but put it somewhere at the back of the room when there is no traffic, it's impossible to discover you, impossible to find you on the shop floor, then again, you most likely end up with having a very poor sell-through, and it's nothing to do with your product, because your product could be amazing, but all these little details, it's vital, it's absolutely vital, and it's not just one or two things. All of it makes a massive role to your, plays a massive role into your sell-through.
So if there are very creative, very talented people out there creating a brand, what you're saying is be sure you have the business side just as good and just as ready as what you're designing.
Absolutely. I've seen it so many times. When I remember I was consulting the last full-time job I was actually working at, there was amazing sportswear bra, luxury sportswear bra. It's been many years ago, but I still have those amazing leggings and tops I still wear after so many years. The quality is unbelievable. And the product was so beautiful. But then the company collapsed because they couldn't fulfill their orders. And it was heartbreaking to see how poor operations can absolutely kill your business.
So a product gets stock, it's a win, we've gotten through the door, we're doing all these things. Can you give us like a breakdown, and you've probably talked about it a little bit already, just give us a little bit of a step-by-step in terms of what are we doing in that first 3 to 6 months to make sure that we stay and we sell through?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to make sure your product displays in the most beautiful way and in the most strategic way. You have to be the best friends with the merchandiser, visual merchandiser, because it's up to him where to put your brand on the shop floor. And it is the most, I would say, strategically important places on the shop floor is by the escalator. Because when people come to the shop floor and first thing they'll see, most likely...
I do that too, actually, now that you say it.
First thing they will go to. Absolutely. And next to the till. These two, the most, I would say, strategically important places where you would love to be. Then make sure you have your merchandise on the mannequins. This is, again, absolutely vital. So for this, you have to work with your visual merchandiser. And quite often, it's a completely different team from buying team. So you usually don't have any connections with them. So you really have to find out when they re-merchandise the shop floor, try to catch them when they are there, try to talk to them. Again, just be nice and sweet and see if they can...
So this is not being negotiated in the head office, as you're saying. So
Absolutely not.
This is you being proactive and very,
Exactly.
very active in checking what's happening in the store, how are you being arranged, and being quite religious about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to make sure each time you come to the shop floor, your rails look absolutely miraculous. It has to be the best looking rail. So people will come to your rail, basically. Your brand is only as good as you sell through. This is number one thing. You have to produce a healthy sell-through. Sometimes, for instance, for any reason, if you deliver late, or sometimes the reason I go and check my brands on a weekly basis, because you come to a department store and then you can see half of the rail is empty because somebody tried some clothes in the changing room and then left it there, and it's been there for like 2 or 3 days. So 2 or 3 days you've been missing on a vital, selling. So for that reason, you absolutely, whenever I come, I make sure I spend a good, healthy few hours on the shop floor checking out all my brands.
Okay, so they've gotten ranged, they've got amazing merchandising. What are we doing next?
Store trainings. Store trainings, again, is very important. Quite often, talking to shop associates, they don't quite like sometimes to do the store training because they think it's boring. And I love doing store trainings. It's one of my, fun time. So I always have a music on my store trainings. I make sure every single person on the shop floor try my clothes. So I don't bring model with me, but I absolutely make sure every single person on that training tries my clothes on. See it how, feel it, see it how it looks like. They have to fall in love with your clothes. At the end of the day, fashion has to be fun.
This is a service you offer as part of your consultancy. So you can do this part for your clients as well, particularly in your case where a lot of them are in the US. It's an extension of what you already do.
Absolutely. I have a team of 3 people. So me and 2 more, my dearest colleagues, we do this, yes, on a regular basis.
So there's so much nuance between contemporary, premium and true luxury, and where a brand sits in store can shape how it's perceived. So when you're helping a brand pitch, how do you position them for the right retailer, price tier or customer base? And is there something specific that's important in that framing? So be it the product, be it the story, or be it the numbers. How do you make sure that they're positioned at the right level and to the right customers?
Quite often, obviously, you look at the aesthetics, first of all. Secondly, you look at the price point. So you have to position your brand within the same aesthetics and the price point of the department store. This is the basic rules.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important to match the right retailer with the right brands.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it has to be the right product for the right customer. That's how you make your sell-through. Because there is no point of selling something to the client who don't have any inspiration for your product. It needs to be the right product for the right customer.
And that's, I guess, the beauty of being in a department store, because you're capitalizing on the existing customer base. And that's why it's so critical to match with that customer base, rather than trying to bring a new customer base to a store that they don't potentially go to.
Absolutely. Okay. Exactly.
My next question is really about the sort of the saturation of the market. It can be challenging. And as you said, the brand, to get accepted and to get into the store, has to have a certain level of, I guess, momentum already going. My question is going to be the ugly question about investment. If I'm a brand at home and I'm listening to this, how much investment? Do we need significant budget to make this work, or are there smarter, more strategic ways to break through?
Absolutely. There is always a strategic way to do business, whether you have funds or not. Obviously, with funds, you can move things much faster. I'm not going to lie to you. Without funds, it's harder, but it's still possible. It will take a little bit longer, but again, it's possible.
Amazing. So if I've got a fantastic product, how far along do I have to be then to come to you, say, for example, to approach these retailers? How much do I need to have had worked out?
Well, to be honest with you, the sooner you get someone to help you to build the brand, the better. Because you have to have so many things in mind when you're in the process of building your brands. Even little things like aesthetics, for instance. If you're trying to penetrate, let's say, European markets, or American market, they have slightly different aesthetics and tastes as well. So Middle Eastern market. So the better you find a consultant or someone can help you to build the brand who has experience in this, the better.
If a brand is looking to scale, because you essentially operate right now across LA, London, Paris, Dubai, lots of different types of countries, when should they be thinking about this in terms of the nuances across markets? Is it when they're building the brand they should think about, I'm going to eventually be global and some of these staples need to be considered now?
Doesn't matter which market you're trying to penetrate. People are people and everyone likes to have beautiful things. That's for sure. So you really have to have in mind that. You have to create something unique with the point of view. You have to, at the same time, have a strategic plan. If you're going to start, let's say, we're going to concentrate on Europe now, and then we're going to move into Middle East, and then we're going to move into this, United States, for instance. And then you can start to think, how is your range good enough or big enough or adequate to those kind of markets?
And is there anything specific about the buying cycle in these regions that brands should keep in mind?
Well, everyone follows a French fashion calendar, so you have to be aware. Exactly. So you have to, ideally, you want to have 4 collections per year, but I am for sustainability and I want people to have an opportunity, maybe instead of doing 4 collections per year, maybe to do 2 collections per year, but have 4 shipping windows. So that way you can, economize a little bit and be more strategic. But another thing I wanted to point out, absolutely, wholesale is the way to scale, but wholesale needs to be done strategically. Within wholesale, I open up stores and department stores in a way that the clients will discover you in this region and then come and look at your website and maybe start buying online. So your wholesale can be kind of a lead way to develop your direct-to-consumer business. So you really have to have this in mind as well. What I found interesting in the States, business relationship, very transactional, if you know what I mean. In Europe and Middle East, it's very driven by relationship. you have to have a good relationship with people you work with, because people in Europe and in the Middle East, I've seen it so many times. If they like you, they find the way to work with you. If they don't like you, even if they like the product, they'll find a way not to work with you. And I've seen it many times.
So a brand should be thinking about scaling early on, and they should be thinking about channels as well early on.
Everything should lead to direct-to-consumer business, because at the end of the day, this is the most profitable. You will have much more margin if you have your direct-to-consumer. It's impossible, almost impossible. I don't know any brand who would just start it and did amazing business direct-to-consumer. You really have to start and then explore into wholesale. But like I said, your wholesale have to lead to direct-to-consumer sale. So you really have to have this in mind.
And is it safe to say that the wholesale, the department store channel early on is a great testing ground as well? Because you don't have to build that footprint and that traffic. It's already there. It's already established. They're obviously already very successful retailers. And is it a good testing ground? Have you seen, can you give some examples or some tips on how you can use that as a testing ground before you go D2C?
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Because at the end of the day, you will have a footfall. So you will have a lot more people who, come and try your goods, try your merchandise, and then maybe feedback to the shop assistant. So that's why it's important to talk to people on the shop floor and to make sure. What I do is I actually created WhatsApp group with my shop assistants, for, let's say, at Selfridges, at Harrods, and some other stores I visit all the time. And I ask them each time they had a feedback in terms of the feet or in terms of the aesthetics, anything, just to drop like one line, because you get forgets, at the end of the day. So, and that is really useful.
So you're conducting little mini research all the time.
Exactly. And it's super helpful, really, really helpful. Because sometimes you don't even know if there is either price resistance on some items. Sometimes shop assistants they said to me, they would love to buy this, but it's just they feel like it's overpriced, for instance, for what it is. And it's important feedback. Or sometimes it's just a little minor detail. Apparently, there was one item and we were like, why is not selling? We sell so well online, but why not in the store? And apparently the label was sticked at the back of the garment in a way that it was bothering. So even little things like that.
I mean, they really do have so much influence, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's the coal face. It's where you're speaking to customers. And how are you looping that information back? For example, say it's a design flaw, not a flaw, but inconvenience, let's say. How are you looping that back to who's designing?
Absolutely, because I work closely with the design team as well. So at the final stages of production, they absolutely take my inputs, because they know at the end of the day, I'm with my buyers in a showroom. And quite often my buyers will tell me, we like this, but the length is a little bit, off. Maybe if we can do it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. So all these little details, I absolutely feed back to the design team. Because what I do, I don't just do wholesale. I do product building and business development. So it's kind of the 360-degree services. And it's all contribute to one thing, to sell your product.
So for businesses that don't have you, what does you look like inside some of these businesses? If somebody was going to do what you're doing, going in the shop floor, making sure the training, being meticulous and obsessive, I would like to say, who is doing that normally? Which role, or how can businesses make sure this is happening?
Well, that's the thing, because every brand I start working with, when I started to do my consultancy, they really didn't have anyone who would do that kind of job. So that's why I took this on, because I understand how important it is. Quite often brands think, okay, we're on the shop floor, we're at Selfridges, and that's it, job is done. No, it's only 50% of the job, not even 50%, it's like 30% of the job done. And then other 80% is what's behind it. So that's why I actually took on this kind of role voluntarily, because I want my brand to sell and I want my brand to perform. And this is the vital thing to do, so to be able to succeed.
Now let's talk about the glitz and glamour part of your world. The part that probably gets most curiosity from your friends and has your friends angling to join you on work trips. So while luxury is built on desire and symbolism, there's no denying the power of being seen on the right person and how that kind of association can shape aspiration. And I've seen this firsthand with celebrities in luxury, and it's just only growing. How much can a celebrity endorsement or partnership help a brand grow in your experience?
It makes a massive difference to any brand, but it has to be done consistently. The consistency is the key, because if you put, a gown on celebrity once, it's not going to make any difference to your brand at all. But if it is constantly, people see your brand on different celebrities all the time, then it can make a massive difference to your brand, and it will translate into sales. Absolutely, for sure.
This is where you really need to come to somebody who's got the network and the influence, right?
You either do it through a normal route where you have to pay thousands and hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, euros. It's crazy how much money it costs. Or you do it organically where you find someone like me who has access to those kind of network, and then I present the opportunity, and if any of my celebrity clients like the product and take the product and wear it, then it's a bonus.
So how easy is it to work on celebrity endorsements and partnerships? You know, they often have a reputation as being very demanding and very elusive and hard to contact. What's it like working with the celebrity side of your business?
Do you know what? For instance, Richard Gere, he's so charming, and he is exactly the same off the camera as he is in front of the camera. Helen Mirren, she's absolutely adorable. Adorable. She speaks a little bit of Russian, by the way. She has a Russian heritage, and she is just so beautiful.
So it's a misconception that they're all divas and they're too famous. They're real people.
The higher celebrities, the less all of that you see.
Is there one piece of advice or anything else you'd like to share for founders or brands trying to break into the luxury space right now?
The main advice I would give is to employ the right people. I think this is important. Employ the right people, someone who has passion, who has knowledge, who has connections, and who loves your brand. Because I think this is vital. Whoever works with you has to be obsessed with your product and your brand. And then basically trust them. If you decided to work with them, trust them and let them do the work.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to a luxury consultant just starting out or someone looking to grow their impact and value with their clients?
The most importantly, work on your connections. Your connections are your money, basically. Become a BFF with your buyers, with your buying assistants, with the managing directors, CEOs, whoever you have access to. Be the best friend with them. That will make a massive difference for your business.
So it's all very relationship based.
Totally.
And just before we close, one last question to end on a more personal note, because, you know, we want to celebrate this industry of luxury that we work in. What's been your favorite moment or most memorable experience working in the luxury world?
Do you know what? It's very fulfilling when you see you grow someone's business. And meaning someone's business is always, you take like your baby when you work on this business and you grow and you see an incredible result. Like I've done so many times. I took on brands with no visibility or not even visibility, with literally no presence in Europe, and I grew into multi-million business. And that happened many times. So I'm absolutely thrilled to do that.
What's your average timing if everybody's following the right steps to grow a brand from starting out to multi-million or whatever your marker is of, okay, it's successful, we've made it?
It depends. It depends on many factors, and also depends on the funds, how much funds they have available. But I've done it within 5 years. It still takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And I have to actually make a point that, especially wholesale and building business, it's not fast. It takes time. You really have to work constantly on this. It's not like one-off thing. You've done it, you did your magic and that's it, and then it goes. No, you have to do it all the time.
So you have to be really committed if you're going to go down this route.
100%.
Okay, so thank you so much, Oxana. You've been so generous and so open with your answers and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for having me.